Check this one out. Bruh, you just need something to talk about with your lame. The difference here is that people actually care about another PlayStation being announced. No one, absolutely no one, gives two about another Xbox being announced. Not even Microsoft. Stop trying so hard. Xbox lives in the heads of these people rent free. It's not even funny. The conversation here is not necessarily whether or not anybody cares about an Xbox being announced or not. It's just that another Xbox and a set of different Xbox hardware pieces have been announced. Yet nothing as concrete has been announced for PlayStation. But the way, the media has covered Xbox in terms of, they're leaving the console market, or they're leaving the hardware space. They're just going to be a third-party publisher. But seeing as they're not going to do that, many of you are now talking about nobody cares. Nobody cares is kind of like, that playground child that showed up and acted like, in the playground, everybody was talking, right? And this child had a lot to say and brag about. But then reality showed up and it's like, well, yeah, nobody cares. That's what you're doing. It's not necessarily about this pedantic nonsense. It's about information. We have to stay informed, and we have to inform people as to exactly what it is the gaming industry is actually, shifting towards. Right now, if you say you care about a PlayStation, that's your prerogative, by all means. No one is stopping you from, caring about a PlayStation. But to say that nobody cares about Xbox, it's actually quite funny, seeing as we don't stop hearing about Xbox from the mouths of everybody. In fact, even the video clip that I showed you just now with them talking about PlayStation and such, Xbox was actually the starting point of their whole podcast. Their own viewers were asking questions about Xbox, and they're PlayStation-centric viewers on Digital Foundry. You go into any PlayStation podcast or anywhere they're talking about PlayStation, Xbox comes up. What would they talk about in the PlayStation side of things? Tell me, what are they going to talk about? I'm asking you. I didn't stop the video. I'm asking you what they're going to talk about. That's exactly where you have to actually think and say to yourself, what in the world am I even, saying? Like, you have to assess your statement. You look on PlayStation, right? If you just try to say anything about PlayStation, like, oh yeah, let's just think about, let me just throw one thing out there. How many, PlayStation games are being played at a high cadence by people who bought PlayStation consoles? How many? None. Not a single PlayStation game makes it into the top 10 of games being played on PlayStation. So when you look at even data, it doesn't matter where you look around PlayStation, you'll see Xbox trails all around it. They have to do business like Xbox, who has been ahead of them for many, many years. They've been selling consoles and being happy. When you look at number one top game played on the PlayStation, Xbox owns the freaking game. I mean, think about it. Number 6, Microsoft, anyways, owns the freaking Xbox. It's the same thing, right? They own the freaking game, Minecraft. I mean, when you can't even mention PlayStation anymore, without having to assess Xbox as some kind of a metric across the board. So to say nobody cares and, people care about, what do they care about PlayStation for? Think about it. Which service took over the news cycle the last 2 weeks? Which one? It wasn't PlayStation Plus. I mean, that was a given that it wasn't PlayStation Plus. It was Game Pass. As much as they were whining and crying over it, it covered the entire news circle. So if nobody cares about Xbox, why do we keep seeing Xbox in the news all over the place? In fact, Virtual Studios laid off workers, and Dreamcast Guy and some other outlets wrote that this is as a result of Microsoft leading the charge, firing people for AI. Even though Amazon was one of the first that actually kicked this thing into gear, they still are basically, you can't have Xbox out of their mouths. So when I look at when people say stuff like that, I have to go back and say, no. You must be reeling from something. And what you're reeling from is that Xbox basically bodied PlayStation into a, sub-level of relevance. I mean, you really cannot. Like, when you think about, and I've said this before, a lot of the so-called fanboys, their ultimate goal was to make everybody else, feel like they were playing on an inferior platform. I mean, when they discovered PC and a PC fan base basically told them that, they were basically, playing their video games in a locked ecosystem where they were getting farmed for money, you should have seen the brain break that happened. So they all chalked up PC to it doesn't matter. And then every time here and there, they'll be like, look at your PC port. Or they'll try to find one of these one-ups, from time to time. And then they get smacked down, by logic. But I think what Xbox is doing and what Xbox has done is absolutely destroyed the fiber of the identity of these folk. Even before the Game Pass, nonsense, in between the big layoffs from Microsoft, right? And the whole Game Pass fiasco, what was in the middle of those two things? Helldivers 2 going to Xbox. I'm just giving you a breakdown of what it is that you're trying to basically, in a sense, Kamehameha yourself out. Kamehameha, that the whole thing they do in Dragon Ball Z, you got to really charge it up. So I see some of these PlayStation fanboys charging up the fantasy because you can't just literally, just face reality. You got to sit there and, relax. Relax. The relevance should not bother you if you're a gamer, right? You go where the games are, right? Now, someone like me who wants to inform people, I find myself in a situation where I have to deal with this because a lot of people are misinformed and a lot of people purposefully misinform others. So when you kind of chalk it up, it's one of those things where, we really have to be very, very sensitive, as to how the gaming industry is shifting, regardless of somebody's fanboy feelings. Don't worry. It's just a multi-billion-dollar and a multi-trillion-dollar company that are basically fighting for your money. So there's no need for us to sit here starting to herald them. We just want to ensure that people are, in a sense, making decisions based on, right, solid information. Other than that, it's a wash. It's just feelings. Like you just said, nobody cares about it. You just said that from your feelings. You didn't mean that, right? Because here you are commenting on a video about Xbox, about how nobody cares about Xbox. So if you had actually, considered the statement from a logical perspective, you would not have made the statement. And I can understand, Again, I'm happy that what's happening is the unraveling of these paradigms. And it's good. It's good for everybody. Right? It's good for the gaming industry. It's good for the discourse. It's good for exposing a lot of the fomenting crap nonsense trash that's been in the gaming industry all this while. Thanks for watching the video. Appreciate your time and audience. Peace out.